After we got our spray foam done, a lot of you have been asking, well, are you about done now? And it seems to make sense that we would be done, but no, there's a lot of things we have left to do. I've got to redo some electrical here because I forgot something. And there's a whole series of other issues that we've got to work on. And I'm going to go through a bunch of those in this episode so you get a feel of what we see as what's left in front of us. Let's get started. Well, I said redo, but that's really not what I need to do. All I'm doing is moving these two breakers up one notch here. I find them hard to latch in. And this one, I'll move it up here. It's not going to make some of my wire cutting and bending look quite so pretty, but that's the way it goes. But the reason I'm moving those is to add this right here. This is they call it a whole house surge protector, but in this case it's not really whole house, it's whole panel, right? And it's got a plug-on neutral. Let me take it out again because it was so easy to put in. I can show you this. It's got a plug-on neutral. So certain panels from the home line of Square D have this plug-on neutral bar. And so if we get a surge in either leg, right, we got two pole switch, we get a surge in either leg, it's going to immediately ground that for me, neutral that for me anyway. It is interesting that they didn't run that to the equipment ground, but this way I guess it's, yeah, it's easy to install. I've had a few questions about my box and my wiring so far, so let's go through a couple of them. Number one, notice the main is on the bottom. The electrician recommended that we do that. It's entirely legal, he says, at least here in our jurisdiction. So the incoming power will come up through here. It's closer that way, just makes for shorter wires. The other comment that I got in the last episode was a discussion of balance and how they said that my panel wasn't properly balanced because I had so many breakers on this side and so few on this side. Well, that's not how balance works unless I totally misunderstand it. These are the two legs. You can see it right up here. This leg from this side, this leg from this side. And so every other breaker is on the different leg if you're on 120 volt. If you're on 240 volt, they're double wide, so that's how you pick up both legs. So the balance will be fine because indeed I've got, you know, every other leg here, and then these are 240 and every other leg as well. So there really will be no issue with balance because of this. It has nothing to do with left and right side of the panel. Now I'm a little bit hesitant to show you my solar progress, and that's because, well, it looks a mess. I've watched a lot of solar installation videos, and every time I see one, they're all polished up, everything is perfect. It looks like a dream world. Well, in some ways I believe it is. I just don't believe that when people first set up their units that they have them all as boxed up and as pretty as what we see in some of these other videos. So in the spirit of being real, like we typically are, we're going to show you mine. You can jump all over me if you want, say I'm unsafe and call me Sparky, whatever, I don't care. Call me whatever, it doesn't really matter. But now let's start up here. So these are our steel conduits that come in from the roofs, the three different roofs. It's fully conduit. Like this one, there's a junction box right outside there, and so that's not a very long conduit run. This one's from the other side of the roof. You can see over there. Let's see, right in there somewhere. Comes down across. And this one comes from the house. Here's where it runs across the top of the shop. Rather than bending conduit, I found that I was able to use combinations of 90s and 45s to make every turn that I needed to make. We ran it all the way across. It's fastened in there all the way across the attic of the shop portion into the old house roof and another junction box on top up there. Now eventually we will finish the conduit. We'll run conduit all the way down to about here somewhere. I don't know where it'll be. That's the reason it's not done, is because I don't know where it'll be. And then we'll come out with a 90 into a trough that's on the outside of the wall. So again, the reason that conduit is not in place yet is because we don't know how long to make these. I've got to try to figure out how high to mount these troughs. I don't have any of the interior walls done. Can't do that yet. You know, one step at a time here, and those logistics issues are the hardest part for me to deal with. Now, our solar panels on the roof have rapid shutdown. So these are special modules on each panel, or in our case, on every other panel, controlling 2 panels, to be able to turn those panels off, to be able to turn their power generation off at the panel. This allows us to not have any voltage coming through these wires in case of emergency or a situation like now where we're not using them at all. Rapid shutdown is, I would say, turned off, or rapid startup, you might say, in this unit right here. This is the inverter. Now, obviously, they're not going to be running in over the surface of the box like this. But this is one set from one side of the roof. So there are 40 panels plugged into this particular inverter right now. I had to plug them in to disable the rapid shutdown, right? Disable the shutdown. So in other words, in order to enable the panels and test to make sure we had them wired properly, we had to plug them into the inverter. That was the only way we could get them enabled. I found a test device online that would enable them, but I couldn't find one to order. I found the spec sheet on it, but I couldn't find a place to order it. So this was the only way we could figure out whether we had any voltage on the different strings, the different groups of panels. And so that's what we did. One string at a time, we plugged them into this inverter, and we were able to measure the voltage then once the inverter told them to turn on. So I don't have any loads connected to the inverter. It was hard for me to know whether I was actually generating power or not. So I fetched one of my batteries. Yeah, I guess I've never really talked about that. We have 2 indoor-outdoor batteries from EG4. Again, we bought them at Signature Solar, link in the description. I got one of those out to hook up just so we'd have something to, first thing, to start up the inverter, because you got to have a little bit of power to even start an inverter. And the second reason was so that I would have something to charge, some way to use power from the solar panels. And that's what we did. I got this battery charged and haven't really used the panels since, right? Because we have no connection to the grid or no connection to any of our loads at present. But I was able to prove that the inverter will accept power from the panels and generate power enough to charge the battery. That is huge to me. Now, here is a device that is intended to allow me to monitor the panels at the individual panel level to see if one goes bad, or I don't know if we can actually tell the power output by each panel, but at least do some monitoring on each panel. I don't fully understand that yet, and I do have them running through this current transformer, the ability to measure the voltage and the current. No, I don't really know how to use this yet. It says 000. Summary display, monthly energy, and it says no output whatsoever. Never mind that we actually have output, and we have charged this. We've seen roughly 5 or 7 kilowatt hours of charge on this battery so far. I find the logistical issues of, well, I can't mount this stuff till I get the wall up. I can't get the wall up until I get the ceiling in. I can't get the ceiling in until the Amish team can come back, and I can't get the Amish team to come back until they can do all of the walls in the room, and I can't do all of the walls until I get my ductwork put in and I get my electric finished and I get some air lines ran. And I just find these logistics to be the hardest part of the entire project. And Bullseye, he doesn't seem to care at all. He just kind of lays around, doesn't really worry about it, do you, Bullseye? Yeah, it's kind of boring. So I have trouble with it though, and I find that this is the most challenging aspect. And then when I do have to schedule a team to come, it's a harsh deadline, which if you've seen our earlier episodes, I really don't like deadlines when it comes to DIY. Winter's almost here, and of course that's putting pressure on my building project, but it's also reminding me that snow is coming soon, and if you have got just a tractor and a bucket that you do snow removal with, and you've got a rock driveway, any sort of a crushed stone driveway, this is the tool you need. It's called the Edge Tamer. It was designed and developed by a couple of brothers near Buffalo, New York. Wonderful guys, Ryan and Rob at R2 Manufacturing. This is the original, it's patented. This clamps right onto the edge of your bucket. It tames the edge of your bucket, right? It fits right in there. If you've got small tractors like these back here, this is the style you use. If you got a little bit bigger tractor, you might have holes in the cutting edge on your bucket, and you can use a bolt-on version, which is probably a little bit stronger, a little bit easier or better to attach for a larger bucket at least. For a small loader, these work perfectly. They're easy on, easy off. You can see them working right here. We've used them with snow. We've used them with leaves. We've even used them to clean up loose dirt off of sod, right? So that's what you can use them for, a lot of different things to keep from cutting in with the tip of your bucket. They work great. Use code TTWT at edgetamer.com for 5% discount. Highly recommend. I'm very happy with these corners. I think that's going to work out great. We've got to allow 3.5 inches in here for our duct work. Yeah, that's one of those things that we have to get ordered. This is special order duct work because it's unique size. We're going to be 4 inches deep, 26 inches wide for a duct here. We're going to try to get 500 cubic feet per minute to come down these walls and to blow out right beside these doors right down here. And that should help me deal with the cold air that inevitably is going to come in around the garage doors. We have a couple other ideas to help with that, but that's one of the main things. So getting that ductwork, since it's special order, is going to become one of those issues that, yeah, is going to keep us from making progress if we don't wash it. I think neighbor Chris is trying to get those ordered today. Okay, I've got my range circuit wired in now. Looking a lot better, yeah. The panel's getting fuller. I do have several more 240 volt circuits, which take up a lot of space to add in, but I think I'm gonna add most of those into my grid boss from EG4. That's gonna be the smart loads, I'm gonna call them. I think that's what they officially call them. And that allows me to be able to control them, as in disable them in case of power outage or other situation. Maybe even when the power is out, but my battery's low, I might wanna disable some of those devices. So there's two advantages there. I won't have to have it in my load center. That's the big one here. I wish I'd have bought a bigger load center. Yeah, but I think it'll be big enough. The second advantage is that I'll be able to control it with the grid boss and with software. Now I still have more electrical to do. I don't have any lights wired for the wash bay here. I need to put a switch at each end and get some overhead lights. I also think I'll put some lights under the little shelf that we're building out here. Well, the shelf is not done either. Ken from Bolt On Hooks is coming for his annual visit next week, I think. I may see if I can get him on that project. I hear he's pretty good with the hammer as well as with hooks. Got another circuit, at least one circuit I have to run up in the main ceiling, and that is for my occupancy sensors. And on that same circuit, I'm going to put the fans. These are the big 8-foot high volume, low speed fans. I just bought one for now. I'm going to put it off center over here, kind of above where you see the equipment. And I'm going to try to wire for a second one over here so that I'll be ready for it. But I'll put them all in the same circuit. Believe it or not, those fans don't use much electricity at all. I'm not even sure I'll put a switch for those. I think I may put a smart control only for that. My current plan is to run those if the temperature up there is significantly higher than it is down here. My HVAC guidance team says that that will not be the case. Based on my prior experience, I don't yet believe them. We'll see who's right. But meanwhile, I'll have those fans available and we'll try to use some smart controls to wire that up. I have to put some more framing up above the garage door openings for the jack shaft. and for the opener. And I also have issues with where that power cable is running. I think, number one, it's too low. It should have been up there because I think the opener will be near the top because the jack shaft will be higher. Secondly, it's in the area where the ductwork's going to be, so I may not be able to leave that alone. I may have to move it. And I didn't leave any extra wire there. Speaking of garage doors, that's another area that I need to make some more progress on. I have not yet got those ordered. They are special order doors. We had trouble finding a color we liked. I think we finally found something that's going to work, but no, I don't have them ordered yet, and winter is almost here. I really need those to begin to be able to heat the building, because as soon as we get the walls and ceiling on, we'll want to spray foam again, and I doubt the weather will be as nice as it is today, and we'll need to be able to heat this place. And that leads me to another point. Furnaces, right? We don't have any of the furnaces in. We've got one that's going to go up there, one that goes down in the mezzanine, and one that goes in the office area. They are in, and they are at the HVAC companies. Indiana Geothermal, actually, I think we've introduced you to them before. They're at the Indiana Geothermal office awaiting our instructions, and we're going to need them soon, right? Down here in the wash bay, I've got a lot of work to do before we get the walls in. We're actually going to get the pressure washer before then. We're going to rename the wash bay. You hang on for that one. But the washer's going to go up here. We're going to have some plumbing that goes inside the walls to keep everything clean. I believe we're going to have the wand and a reel here on this side to make it easy access, even though the washer's on the other side. We need to get a lot of that done before we get the walls on. In a recent episode, many of you commented about needing air lines. Yeah, that's on my list, but we were talking about electrical in that particular episode, so I didn't mention it. We are going to leave the air compressor in the old shop and run a line underground. If you may or may not have caught that video where we dug a trench, put 4-inch PVC in. We have identified the hose we're going to use to run underground in that trench. We're going to get that from Discount Hydraulic Hose. By the way, you can get your stuff from Discount Hydraulic Hose as well. Any hydraulic hoses, pneumatic hoses, anything like that, you can get from discounthydraulichose.com. Use code TTWT and you get a very nice discount. And you'll be able to get stuff that you can't get locally. That's what the good part of that is. Once we get into the building, I think we're going to use the Rapid Air system. I'm not positive about that, but it's worked well in the old shop. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to run. We don't use as much air as I thought we would. And maybe the new, stronger battery tools have taken some of the need away for the air tools that we would have used in the past. Used to, people used grease guns, impact wrenches, all air-powered. Now there's really no need for that. They battery-powered for all of those. The standard way to run air is to try to run a loop. Make sure you loop through the entire building. I'm just not sure we need that. I'm just not sure we need that volume of air or that many outlets throughout the shop. We will want outlets at both ends near the doors. We'll want an outlet on the lift down here. I don't know how many other air outlets we're going to need. I've got to do a little bit more Cat 6 wiring. Going to try to put some more cameras on the facility. Several of you mentioned that. Well, we had planned to anyway, but we just not had time. So I plan to run some more Cat 6 to the various corners of the building for that. I will also run a Cat 6 to the center of the building where I'm going to put my wireless access point. Yeah, let's take a look. In our earlier episode where we were showing some of the IT termination here, all the Cat 6 termination, I got a suggestion that maybe I consider putting the Wi-Fi access point in a different place and not mounting it upside down here right on my patch panel. It seems serious too. No, this is not the final location of my access point. This is a way I could get some Wi-Fi out here in a hurry, and anywhere I put it, I'm going to have to move it. So it's going to make do right now. And some other folks were saying you should get a real rack not just this little thing here. Well, this is just the patch panel coming in, guys. This is just where we're going to terminate all of the wires right here. I've shown a rack in an earlier episode that we've already purchased. It's already running in our living room. That's right, Christy's not very happy about that. But yeah, the rack will be positioned right here, and we will run patch cables from here to the rack. And there'll be more cables here than we actually keep hooked up, right? There'll be some of these cables that are running to far off corners of the house that we may never have connected, or we may not keep connected all the time. Who knows? The idea is to have this flexibility, and the wall will be built out even with this, so there shouldn't be any just dangling wires back here. That's a pipe dream, I know, but that's the plan here. We've got to terminate all these extra wires into this patch panel, and eventually we will get the rack up here. Got to have power first, guys. In addition to power for those high volume, low speed fans, I'm going to have some framing because I can't put them right on a truss due to the lighting locations. At least I believe I'm going to need them in between the lights, so I'll have to have them right between two trusses. We will have lights on every single truss at every one of those steel joints that you see, essentially, just to the right or left of that. So that's a way for you to understand where we're going to have all of those high bay lights. Every one of these steel joints that you see in the trusses will have a high bay light attached to it. I think that'll be way too many high bay lights, but, well, we'll see. Now, all of those items are just to get to interior walls and ceiling. And no, we're still not done at that point. But after we get the interior ceiling done, then we will have spray foam done on the ceiling. And we will be closed in, and we can maybe slow down for just a bit. But there's more after that. And I've found this incredibly fun, but at the same time, we need a vacation. So if we can get her closed in by winter, by deep winter, and be able to get the furnaces working, then maybe we'll take a little break and talk tractors for a little while, and then get to some of the rest of it come spring. I hope you guys are finding this series interesting. If so, help us out. Go watch some of the episodes that you may have missed. There's a lot of these topics. We're getting comments from things that we've addressed thoroughly in other episodes, and I know it's hard for you guys to watch them all. I get that. But on the other hand, it's hard for us to repeat everything in every single episode. And so, yeah, go check out some of those. There's more than 30 episodes now on this building project. We've tried to address all the details during planning and then during implementation. And yeah, I promise you that after we get done, we will address costs and we will address things we wish we would have done differently. All those things will be coming. It's just too soon for some of that. Yeah. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Tractor Time with Tim.
He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
Hold it. What's going on here? All I'm doing is trying to have a little discourse with you, the viewer, and what does she do? She dumps a whole bucket of snow on.